Seminar, 4 days, masterclass, heavy transport, lifting, shipping and offshore. So I'm very glad that your employers or yourself attended this seminar and that you were willing to listen 4 days to me. Before we continue, let me first give a little bit an introduction of myself, who I am and what I have done. I was born in 1945, studied at the Mechanical Engineering University of Delft, of Technology, Mechanical Engineering, and majored in energy systems. In 1973 I started working for Big Lift, which is was in those days one of the leading heavy lift transport and lifting companies, in competition to Mammoet Transport and Shipping. And Big Lift was taken over in 1979 by Mammoet. So I also joined Mammoet for about a year, and after Mammoet I decided to set up my own company called ITRAC, International Transport Rigging Engineering Consultants, together with a good friend of mine, Joop Rodenburg. In 1982 I married with my wife Tony. My wife has two children, and in the meantime I have 3 granddaughters. ITRAC was established in 1980 with my friend and partner Joop Rodenburg, who is now managing director and owner, president of Huisman Equipment, and they have grown quite significantly, and they are the leading, say, pipe lay equipment supplier in the world. They build mast cranes, and they have also the order to construct and design 2 10,000 tons pedestal cranes for the new ship, the new Hirema semi-submersible vessel, which is going to be constructed here in Singapore at Sembawang Corporation. In 1987 I left ITRAC to start working with Van Zeumeren, which I enjoyed very much, and I helped Van Zeumeren set up branch offices in France and in Norway and other international areas. And then in 1989 I was asked by Jumbo to join their organization, and I had set up called a Jumbo Land Department. The Jumbo Land Department was responsible for the transportation and lifting of items which Jumbo Shipping carried from any place in the world to, for instance, Port Klang, and then my department was responsible for the undercarriage of the equipment. So we did a lot of work in Malaysia in the 90s. I consider Malaysia my second home country. I've been all around. First jobs we did was in Conrad Bridge near Port Klang. We did jobs in Pasir Gudang, in Paka near Kemaman, Lumut, Guadalangat, many locations, Port Dickson. And then in 2001 I was asked to set up Jumbo Offshore, which was a new subsidiary of Jumbo, and the idea was to use their new type of heavy lift vessels, the so-called J-class vessels, equipped with 2 900-ton mast cranes, so that they can use those vessels in offshore construction work. With the idea, why don't we use a heavy lift ship and carry the offshore structures with the ship to the location, and with the same ship install them. In other words, not involve a barge-tug combination and an installation vessel, but combine the two together in one vessel. That was a kind of a pioneering idea. We got our first contract in Australia for Woodside Technip, which involved the transportation of 2 valve skids from Fremantle to the North Rankin field. We overboarded them and installed them together with a Technip dynamic positioning vessel into the location at the North Rankin gas field. That department has evolved in the meantime, and Jumbo Offshore is now a full-grown, say, besides heavy lift shipping, they also have a full-grown offshore department where they focus on subsea installation work. They have a so-called deep water deployment system, which I was the, say, inventor, initiator, and that can lower loads up to 3,000 meters water depth. In 2010, I retired. I reached the age of 65. Jumbo asked me to stay on for another year, which I did. And after 2011, I stopped working for Jumbo and dedicated my time to seminars, training sessions, etc. With the idea of it's a bit of a shame that someone who has 40 plus years experience in heavy transport, lifting and shipping is going to retire and does not transfer his know-how and knowledge to younger engineers, people involved in the industry. So I decided, well, why not let me be the first? And in 2008, I set up the first initial seminar, a mini seminar, a one-day seminar, which had about 5 subjects. Then I was asked to do that seminar in India, and I thought, oh, all the way for one day to India, I'd rather expand the seminar a little bit. So then I generated some more subjects, it became 11 subjects. And then in the course of time, it developed to what it is now. And you are getting the full scheme, 4 days, including offshore lifting and transportation techniques and heavy lift shipping. Now, mind you, in 4 days, you will get a lot of information, and I'm sure there are still a lot of subjects which can't be covered and will not be covered, but at least it gives you, say, the basics of how to handle and transport heavy loads safely. And of course, it's up to you how you further develop it. I still remember the days when I joined into this interesting industry, transporting and lifting heavy loads. We had nothing. I just came new in a company. I more or less was fresh from university, and basically I knew a wheel was round, but for the rest you had to develop and generate it all yourself. There was no, say, information available in books. All you have is basic technical and mechanical engineering background. That has changed now, and I make my slides and my whole seminar also available on the website. You may have looked at the website already. I have 2 websites. One is heavyliftspecialist.com, which is focused on the training sessions and the seminars, which also outlines the kind of programs and what is the content, the index of the seminar. On the web shop, you find a section where you can, if you are interested, purchase the whole set. So all the slides I'm showing you here, plus all the videos, can also be purchased as a total package. And then it's simple, you can purchase it through American Express or Visa or MasterCard or whatever, or GiroPay, and then for 150 euros you can get the whole set, which is 4.5 gigabytes of digital information, PDF formats. All my, say, I think I have 55 articles written, combined as one PDF book of 160 pages. So there's a lot of information which you can obtain. If you can't spend that much money, say, without offshore and heavy lift shipping, the limited scope is available for €100. And I'm pleased to say that if you are interested, I have some extensive seminars on a memory stick available at a one-time offer of 150 Sing dollar. So instead of euros, it's Sing, only for the course. We have a full schedule, but I'm glad we have 4 days. We have enough time to answer questions. You just call me Richard. In case you do not understand something, raise your hand and say, please explain again. Don't be shy. I know we are with 16, 18 people here, but don't be shy. No question is a dumb question. It's dumb when you don't ask. Yeah. So if you want a more explanation, I'll do my best to answer your question. There are maybe situations that I don't have the answer. I'm not the almighty who knows everything. I know a lot, but not everything. So maybe I sometimes can't answer your question, but I will do my best. Day one today, we start with introduction, general knowledge. That basically shows what kind of equipment is available in the world nowadays. I try to keep updated with the latest developments and show you what is available. Then second chapter, I consider that one of the most important chapters. It's forces, masses and center of gravity. Why is that so important? If we move heavy objects or any load or any mass and you move it and you accelerate a mass, forces are acting on that load due to the laws of Newton. And I'm going to explain that in detail in the chapter 2. If you understand what forces do and how forces are developed and what the 3 laws of Newton's are about, that's basically the basic on which this whole industry floats. Then we continue with heavy transport with hydraulic platform trailers, and that's basically the rest of the day. It shows you the principles of what a hydraulic platform trailer is, how it works, what is a 3-point and what is a 4-point suspension system, why do we use a 3-point suspension or a 4-point suspension, what is stability of the trailer, how do we select a platform trailer, and what is the main reason why we use hydraulic platform trailers. Then the second day, tomorrow we continue with lifting. It's basically a chapter about lifting loads, and it says lifting loads with 2 or more cranes, but it's not only about lifting loads with cranes, it's the lifting section. It deals with how to select a crane, what is a load moment, how do I make a lift plan, what is stability of a crane, what is stability of the load, because there's also something called stability of the load. So there are quite a lot of subjects. Sling forces, how do we quickly and simply estimate sling forces? By the way, of the whole group here, how many of you have an engineering background? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, half about engineering. And those who don't have an engineering background, don't be afraid. I have here quite a few models which I will use to show in real life what I mean by the sometimes technical formulas. There are some technical things in there, mechanical engineering sessions, but don't worry, I will try to explain it as simple as possible so that you at least understand. Then we go to, after lunch tomorrow, we go to maintenance and inspection. That's a short chapter. Of course, maintenance and inspection is important. You need to keep your equipment in good working order. If it's not in good working order, you should not use it. My father used to be a flight engineer with KLM, and a flight engineer, that trade doesn't exist anymore. It's now the captain and the pilot and the co-pilot. But a flight engineer was responsible for the technical condition of the aircraft. And he was very keen on having his aircraft before he flew in tip-top condition. And of course that's important, because if it's not, it crashes, and he is in it. So from that I learned, keep your equipment in good condition. And a crane doesn't fly, but in the hands of inexperienced, unqualified personnel, operators. And if it's not maintained well and not kept in good working condition, that crane can be a deadly weapon. So keep your equipment in good order. Maintenance and inspection. Then we go to skidding and jacking techniques. That discusses about how we move and why do we use skids. Moving on skids is basically a means of transport which you use when SPMTs or hydraulic platform trailers do not have sufficient capacity to cope with a very high load on a limited area. Basically the area under which you position the trailers, if that's not sufficient and the load is still too heavy for the trailers, then the way to go is skidding. We'll explain all the details about that as well. We talk about strand jacks, why and where are we using strand jacks, hydraulic gantries, airbags, air pellets, there's all kind of skidding and jacking and moving techniques. Then we go to setup of a project planning. Why do we set up a project planning? Because if we do not plan and we have no idea what we are doing, we are going to enter up in a mess. So I refer often to the 7 P's. Proper planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance. Yeah? If you do not prepare, if you do not plan, you'll have a mess, and you know it. Yeah? So do prepare and do plan. I'll teach you the basics of how to do that. Then preparation of a cost estimate. How do we cost a certain job? That has to do with planning and say engineering a certain project. So we'll talk about that in detail. Then we have loadouts of extreme heavy loads. That's the 3rd day. It's about how do we roll on and roll off with heavy loads on and off barges during tidal conditions, non-tidal conditions, grounded, etc. We have safety and risk management, which basically tells you what safety and risk management is and how do you set up a safety and risk management program and how do you maintain it and how can you use that program to improve safety within your own company. Then we continue with heavy lift shipping. Heavy lift shipping gives you an overview of what kind of shipping methods are available to moving heavy loads. I'm talking about lift-on, lift-off vessels, float-on, float-off vessels, and roll-on and roll-off vessels. And sometimes there are combinations of the 3. Then we continue with offshore lifting techniques, probably maybe the 3rd or the 4th day. Offshore lifting and transportation techniques deals with, again, how do we develop an offshore field, what is involved in that, why do we go into even deeper and deeper waters, and how can we get access to the oil, and how do we get the oil and gas up. So what kind of vessels are available nowadays which can lay pipe, which can install heavy loads, etc. Then the 4th day we basically summarize everything what we have done, but I also have the last subject, or the last 2 subjects, which is accidents and how to avoid them. It deals with a lot of, well, I show you a lot of accidents that happened in the past, but I also will show you one accident I had in my career of 40 years, in which I was involved myself. Again, unfortunately, well, I wasn't there when it happened, but I just left the scene, and after I left, it happened. I don't know why, but, well, I know why. I'll show you and I'll tell you what and why it went wrong and what we have learned from that. The main reason why I want to discuss and show accidents to you is that from accidents, well, basically you should call it an incident. From incidents or accidents, you can learn a lot. And I find it the wrong attitude of contractors that in case an accident happened or an incident happens, that they try to sweep it under the carpet and do not disclose it to anyone because they don't want to hang their dirty laundry out. Yeah. But in that way, we'll never learn from the mistakes we made in the past. And if you take the comparison to the airline and aircraft industry, which I have been involved with my father's trade quite closely, the airline industry became the most safe means of transportation in the world if you related the number of accidents to the number of passengers carried. And why has that become the most safest industry in the world? Because if it wasn't, you and me would never fly again. So it's in the interest of the transportation and construction industry to make the industry safe, because we want to safeguard our personnel and our people, and we want them to return home safe in one piece without any injury or without being killed. And again, I make the comparison to the airline industry because you probably know the documentary called Air Crash Investigation. In Air Crash Investigation on National Geographic, air crashes are investigated in extreme detail until they find the cause of the accident or the incident. What happened? What went wrong? What has gone? What was the error? Was it a pilot error? Was it a construction error in the aircraft? Was it weather? All kinds of things are reviewed until they find the cause of that crash. And when that is found, they make a full detailed report and they inform the public and they inform the industry and they learn from the mistakes made in the past and they adapt procedures, they do proper and better training of their personnel or their pilots, their crew, and they take precautions so that hopefully that incident or accident will never happen again. What is, by the way, the difference between an accident and an incident? Why do I call it incident? An accident is something which happens and which you could not foresee. For instance, if lightning strikes, that's an accident. You can't foresee when lightning strikes. But an incident is what could, or is a thing which goes wrong, but which was foreseeable. So if a crane tips over and the guy didn't have his load moment indicator on and he had no clue what the load is, he is going to have an accident. Yeah, so that was foreseeable, and that is what I call an incident. I also run a website, Heavy Lift News. On Heavy Lift News I post every day 3 to sometimes 10 news items, which is about offshore, shipping, transportation, lifting, accidents, aircraft industry, whatever. It's in the transportation arena. And unfortunately, I just recollected it in the month of May, this last month. I posted 27 accidents on my website, of which there were 12 fatal ones, 12 people killed due to accidents that happened in the construction and lifting industry. And it continues, it goes on, it goes on. Yesterday I posted some news about a crane accident somewhere in the States. It goes in developed and undeveloped countries. And I only hear the top of the iceberg. I know there are a lot more incidents and accidents happening still, which I don't hear about. But I strongly request you, in case you come across any incident or accident, please send it to me, because I want to expose the incidents and accidents of contractors who are not following safe work practices. And hopefully by exposing them and telling them what went wrong, we can educate the industry and make it a more safe industry. That's basically the program. Here's a simple sheet which shows you the conversions. Unfortunately, we still live in a world where we have still people working on the imperial system, mainly the United States. The rest of the world more or less is on the metric system. My seminar deals with the metric system, so meters and the decimal system. And if you do not know how much a pound or a kilogram is, here's the conversions. I did my seminar over the past, say, 7 years, since 2008. I've done it 86 times now in 23 countries. And more than 2,000 persons have attended my seminars. And I found also quite a few sponsors who support my work. They put an ad on the website Heavy Lift News and Heavy Lift Specialist with a direct link to their website. All basically to try to improve safety in the industry.